I begin this account, I must emphasize the absolute need for confidentiality regarding the identity of the family involved. The young woman at the center of this incident now works within the British justice system in a sensitive position. Her family has requested complete anonymity, a condition to which I have strictly adhered. For this reason, certain identifying details have been altered, though the core events remain unchanged. My name is Emma. I've never told this story publicly before, but what happened to me on that cold December night back in 1998 changed my life forever. I was driving home along the A614 between Driffield and Bridlington, a road I knew well. The incident happened near the junction for Ruston Pava, a tiny village in East Yorkshire that most people drive through without noticing. I was 23 years old then, a university student who, as my dad Alf would tell you, put my heart into studying. I preferred staying home with a good book to going out drinking, but like anyone my age, I occasionally enjoyed a night out with friends. That Friday, I received a text from an old school friend. "Emma, my house, Friday night, 8 o'clock, girly night." I replied with a simple, "Be there." I arrived a little before 9 p.m. and hugged everyone, realizing how long it had been since I'd seen them all. I had one glass of wine to be sociable, but after that I stuck to coffee. I wasn't there to get drunk, it was more about catching up with old friends. We talked for hours and time flew by. When I noticed the clock had passed midnight, I thought I should leave, but the conversation continued. By 1 a.m., I knew I really needed to go. After saying my goodbyes, I left my friend's house in Driffield around 1:15 a.m. The night was cold and damp, with patches of mist forming across the countryside. As I drove out of town, the mist rolled across the road in a way that reminded me of those old Hammer House of Horror movies. I didn't know then how appropriate that comparison would be. I reached the junction near Ruston Pava at approximately 1:30 a.m. The road dips down toward the junction there, and as I approached, someone or something ran out from the left side, crossing directly in front of my car. Bang! I hit the brakes and swerved instinctively. I felt and heard it hit the offside of my car. When I came to a stop, I was shaking, but I managed to compose myself enough to get out and look. It was pitch black, with only the moonlight providing any visibility. At first, what I saw on the grass verge looked like a pile of black bin bags. Dark shapes, wet and glistening in the moonlight. Then it moved. The shape stood upright and pure primal fear washed over me. What I saw standing there couldn't have been human. It was tall, maybe 6 to 8 feet, but it's hard to be certain in the dark. What I can say with absolute certainty is that it resembled what you'd see in a horror film, a werewolf. I know how that sounds, but there's no other way to describe it. I didn't think. I just reacted, jumping back into my car and slamming my foot on the accelerator. I don't even remember fastening my seatbelt or checking my speed. All I knew was that I had to get away as fast as possible. By the time I reached Bridlington, I was a complete mess, shaking uncontrollably and crying. I parked in a well-lit area and fumbled with my phone, somehow managing to call my dad. "Dad," I choked out between sobs. I could barely form words. "Emma? What's wrong? Where are you?" His voice was tight with worry. I struggled to explain what had happened, my words tumbling out incoherently between gasps and sobs. Dad stayed calm, asking me repeatedly where I was parked until I could finally tell him. It normally takes about 20 minutes to drive from Scarborough to Bridlington, but Dad swears he made it in 10. When he arrived, I had all the doors locked. I could hear him outside calling, "Emma, open the door!" Emma. When I finally unlocked it, I immediately locked it again as soon as he was inside. I threw my arms around him and broke down completely. He held me until I could speak, patiently waiting while I sobbed against his shoulder. Once I had calmed enough to talk, I told him everything. I could see the concern and confusion in his eyes, but he didn't dismiss what I was saying. Instead, he gave me two options: go to the police or return to the scene to make sure no one was injured. After some hesitation, I agreed we should check the junction. I was in no state to drive, so Dad convinced me to get into his car. As soon as we were inside, I begged him to lock the doors. When we reached Ruston Pava, Dad parked about 50 yards from the junction. "I won't be long," he promised, but the thought of being left alone in the car terrified me. I didn't want him to go, but I couldn't bring myself to go with him either. I watched his flashlight beam sweep across the grass verge where I'd seen the creature. After what felt like an eternity, he returned. "Emma," he called, and I had to force myself to unlock it. As soon as he was inside, I demanded, "Well, what did you find?" "Nothing," he replied, looking puzzled. "Nothing at all. No blood, no signs of impact, nothing." We drove home in silence. Mum was waiting in the kitchen, anxious and confused. Over cups of tea, I told my story again. When it came time to go to bed, I couldn't bear the thought of being alone. "Mum, Dad, can I sleep with you tonight?" I asked, feeling ridiculous. A 23-year-old asking to sleep with her parents. But the fear was overwhelming. They exchanged glances but agreed. That night I slept fitfully between them, waking repeatedly from nightmares where dark shapes pursued me through endless mist. The next day, Dad checked my car. There was no significant damage, but something had clearly brushed against the offside, even folding the side mirror back. Whatever I'd hit, or whatever had hit me, had made contact, but there was no blood, no fur, nothing to indicate what it might have been. That night changed me. For nearly a year afterward, I refused to drive after dark. Even now, 18 years later, I avoid that stretch of road entirely. I've researched local folklore since then and discovered other accounts of strange sightings in the East Yorkshire wolds, though none exactly match what I experienced. I know what people will think when they hear this. They'll say I was tired, that the combination of fatigue, moonlight, and mist played tricks on my mind. Perhaps they're right, but I know what I saw, what I heard, what I felt. And I know that even now, the thought of driving past that junction on a misty night with a full moon overhead fills me with a terror I cannot explain. I've built a good life since then. I work in the justice system now, dealing with facts, evidence, and logical explanations every day. But some experiences defy logical explanation. What happened that night at the junction of Ruston Pava falls into that category. I have no proof, only my experience and the lingering fear that still wakes me sometimes on foggy nights when the moon is full. Before you go, if you love this kind of terrifying true encounters, please like and subscribe for more chilling stories from the shadows. Your support helps us bring more unexplained horrors to light.